everyone. And first of all, a great thanks to Zevia for hosting this awesome platform. I guess all of us are doing everything virtual these days. So I really like the platform thus far. And thank you, all of you, for your participation over the weekend. Now, thanks for the introduction, Kalyan. As Kalyan alluded to, I come from some background with management consulting and business consulting, and I've found myself wearing the business hat over the last few years. And today's discussion and today's topic that we are discussing over here today, I will bring in more business perspectives from experience wearing that business hat. I'm no agile guru, just a disclaimer. But I think if you are a person who is looking forward to hear some of the business related aspects when you're talking to your leaders and the enterprise leaders, and how do you position the transformation, and how do you drive some meaningful conversations which are relevant or top priority for those business leaders, I think this will be interesting for you. So I invite you all for your participation, and hopefully this should leave us with some thoughts to work with. Now, with that, I'd like to start with telling this, and I think this is not new. I think everybody knows that digital transformations have not been very successful, and there are multiple reasons. And you look at different researchers talk about differing percentages, but I think net is that the overall success rate of the digital transformations have been fairly low, and billions of dollars have been wasted down the drain on failed transformations. However, I came across this research by BCG where they talk about certain factors where the probability of flipping the odd of the success of a digital transformation from 30% could be increased to as good as 80%. And that really got me thinking. Now, before I get into all those things, and I guess all of us are aware of what a digital transformation is, but then if I would ask all of you, I might end up getting different answers. So just so that we are on the same page, I would want to align us to this definition, which comes from Bain and Company. There are 4 dimensions which Bain and Company talks about when they talk about digital transformation. The first is your digital strategy, your way in which you're going to capture the raw need of the customer. Your today forward, future forward, and future backward thinking, where you will start to think about how do you tap into that value. The second is how do you actually deliver that value to the customer, right? You still have to be meaningful and delivering value to the customer. So that is how you deliver value to the customer, your business model. The third dimension is the enablers, and enablers could be data, technology, and operating model. And fourth is your change management, and how do you orchestrate the different changes, supported by these different enablers in your transformation journey. And one thing that stands out over here, which has a very significant impact on the success of all the 4 dimensions, is an operating model. Now, I'm pretty sure all of us understand what an operating model is. It's like a blueprint of how the decisions are made and they are executed with an enterprise. But I thought that maybe I'll just elaborate that further as well so that we are aligned on the same page as well. So again, Bain says that an operating model is about the structure of different functions and subsystems within an organization, and how do they coordinate between different functions? What are those boundaries in which they work, and what are the shared services that they work with? What are the accountabilities that they have? How is P&L structured? And what are the roles and responsibilities of different entities within that enterprise? It also talks about governance and ways of working, right? What are your executive and management processes? And how do you set up some measures and control to track the progress of the value that you're delivering for the customer? And then, of course, ways of working. How do you interact? How do you organize yourself? And how do you organize yourself around value? The other component is enabling and sustaining capabilities, right? It's all about building the capabilities. We are all building those capabilities within our enterprises on an ongoing basis. So how do you create those and sustain those? And it all boils down to then at the top is the strategy as to how do you identify the strategy that works for you, and then how do you execute that strategy for your success, for your customer success, right? So that's how the operating model is. Now, when we talk about operating model, the world has been changing at a much rapid pace, as we all know. And if anybody had any doubt in the pace at the world is changing, welcome to 2020, right? And all of us are now, excuse me, in a race to find out what this new normal is that we are working towards, and how do we embrace the challenges which this new normal is throwing at us. So when I started looking at that, and when we talk to different executives, there are certain factors which drive the success, right? Which could actually flip the odds of the success of a digital transformation which is happening in your enterprise. But before we get there, one thing which stands out in the things that we see is we need to have a systems view. And I always draw this analogy that an enterprise could be thought of a complex human system. There are different organs, there are different subsystems to a human system, and they could be working, functioning very well within themselves as well, because they're systems in themselves too. But then what happens if they do not synchronize with each other? That could make us really, really sick. So we have to continuously train ourselves. We have to continuously build our muscles, train our organs, and train our system so that it's all aligned. Every function is aligned, every subsystem is aligned, so that the entire larger enterprise or the larger system is successful as well. Now, from an executive's perspective, who is leading an enterprise, there are mostly two or three things that he is worried about. I think it all boils down to these two or three things. One is the revenue growth, which is the top line. And second is the increased profitability through achieving operational excellence, or better or optimized bottom line. There could be third as well, which is increased market growth or market share. But I think it could also boil down to one of these things, one of these two items as well also on the screen. So I will leave it to these two. And anything that we offer to an enterprise, anything that is on the priority list of an executive, if it does not roll up to one of these two things, it's a waste of time. So anything that we're offering, any transformation which is happening, any change management that is happening, it should lead to either a better top line or an optimized bottom line. Now, that being said, while talking to different executives and carrying on that research from BCG, there are 6 dimensions that I figured that are really important for an enterprise to succeed in today's world. And one definitely is, how do you identify your strategy? And how do you align your transformation goals to be able to achieve that digital strategy or an overall enterprise strategy that you're working towards? Like, strategy is not a thing that the executives meet at an offsite in the month of December and January and decide something and over a few drinks, and that gets executed for the remainder of the year or maybe 2 years, right? It's an ever evolving thing. It's a very fast moving, in this fast moving business environment, and you have to exhibit strategic agility. The other piece is leadership commitment, not leadership support, but leadership commitment through from the CEO through to the middle management. And I think this reminds me of this vignette from the Out of Crisis, which I guess most of you would have heard of as well, where Deming says that there were 2 VPs of manufacturing organization who were talking to each other. One of the VP says that, hey, your business unit seems to be doing pretty well. Can I come and see, and what are the things that you're doing so that you're able to achieve those business outcomes? And the other VP says, absolutely, why not? You're more than welcome to come and visit. However, if you can't come, send nobody else. And this is a responsibility that the leadership cannot delegate, right? So it's very important that they commit themselves and not just support it. It's all about reskilling and upskilling these days as well in this fast, rapidly change business environment. It's all about building those digital skills. So you need to have those capabilities within the organization, and that's where we need to have talent management systems as well. Agile governance mindset, of course, what gets measured gets done. So you need to have some controls and measures which align to the lean agile principles. And that is adopted across the larger enterprise. The fifth is how do you maintain and how do you measure your progress toward defined business outcomes, whether those are services and products. I think it's self-explanatory. Of course, we have to make money out of something. We have to deliver value through our business model. So this is that. And the last is a business-led technology stack. So when I look at this, there are different elements which come out of it. And I guess it draws direct parallel to what you see at Scaled Agile Framework as well. And most of you, if not all of you, would have seen this picture from scaledagileparamework.com, where we talk about 7 core competencies of business agility, where on the left-hand side, you have the execution side, on the right-hand side, you have the strategy side, and customer is always at the center. So quickly going through this without going into more details over here, the first capability talks about the team and technical agility. I think everything starts with the team and gets delivered by the team, and it's very important that the team adopts the agility or agile principles and the values and exhibit those values. What are the products that you're designing? To who are you delivering these products? What is the cadence that you're delivering these products and services to? Develop that competency using agile product delivery. If you're designing large enterprise systems, how do you continuously evolve those large systems? How do you interact with different stakeholders, work with different vendors and partners? And on the strategy side, how do you manage your portfolios? How do you let go of the operations which are not yielding the results or the outcomes? How do you decide which value stream to fund through participatory budgeting? And how do you achieve agile portfolio operations and have lean governance sit on top of that? So it all comes in lean portfolio management. Organizational agility and strategic agility, extremely important, which you can read in more detail. Having lean business operations at the value stream level, it discusses that in more detail. The sixth is the continuous learning culture, right? It's all about creating that learning culture, bringing in the elements of innovation, and all about relentless improvement. And last but not the least, the most important competency, the lean agile leadership. How do the leadership not only supports but commits themselves and exhibits a lean agile mindset? And of course, there are 3 days, 4 days of workshop that can be delivered just looking at this diagram. So I would not necessarily go into those details. I will leave it for your further evaluation. But I wanted to draw the parallels between what the industry research is talking about, what is making the transformations fail and succeed, and how do you build those competencies using Scaled Agile Framework. Now, it's important to keep in mind that all this is done to achieve business agility. It's not about team and technical agility. It's not about just the technical solutions or the products that you're delivering. Of course, those are important. And some of you, if not all of you, would be working towards delivering those technical products. But then it's all about business solutions. You work across different functions. You organize yourself around the customer value, and you create those digital systems and software applications to deliver business solutions to the enterprise. And that's what the definition for business agility is from Scaled Agile Framework, that business agility requires technical agility and a business level commitment to product and value stream thinking. It requires that everyone involved in delivering these business solutions use lean and agile practices. And why is it important? It's important because McKinsey did this research and they found that the business units who had embraced agility at the business unit level in the enterprises succeeded, or 93% of them succeeded in doing significant better or better as compared to the other peers of theirs who did not adopt agility at a business unit or an enterprise level. This was the research which was published in June 25 this year. And this was an eye-opener for quite a few leaders that we spoke to very recently. And they did agree to it, right? Customer satisfaction, employee engagement, and operational performance is extremely important. And if you do not think of business agility and business solutions, you're kind of losing the view or the systems view to the customer and the value that we deliver. So how do you accelerate to business agility, you might ask? And we all understand that you had been getting trained and getting certified, and you might get different courses, and learning safe starts from there for some of us, and it sometimes triggers the transformation as well within an enterprise. But then it's all about putting those skills and principles and practices to work every day. That will make the changes stick. That will make the transformation successful in an enterprise. Now, can we make this as simple as using Netflix? Is there a way, can we offer you a Netflix model of learning and implementing scaled agile framework in an enterprise? The answer is yes, absolutely. And that's what exists. Safe Enterprise Solution is a platform which works like a Netflix and offers you the support in three dimensions. One is transformation. How can you become a more responsive and resilient organization? Professional growth for the employees, and how do we empower them, and how do we create learning culture within them? And then how do you put safe to practice each and every day, so that you're not just training in isolation, you're not just practicing a thing in isolation, but you're actually putting that to practice every day to increase the chances of the success of your transformation. So let's look into this. What comprises of the safe enterprise solution? It all starts with the learning experience. Now, in a regular model that you might have seen, you go to a partner or a consultant, you go through some learning or in a workshop or a certification, and then you get access to a bunch of resources, which sometimes you may or may not use. But Safe Enterprise Solution platform offers you the access to the resources even without getting certified, right? You don't have to wait for the certification. You have these resources available to you. You can start reading them. You can start building your fundamentals about scaled agile framework, about agility, and start practicing those as like a safe on the job learning, right? And then wherever you are in the implementation roadmap, you could choose according to your role a certification or a workshop which works better for you, and there are a whole bunch of them available. But one thing that is different in the Safe Enterprise Solution is unlimited use of instructor-led safe courseware. We don't want your budget or cost to be inhibition to your learning and to the success of your transformation. So as part of this platform, on a flat fee like Netflix, you get a subscription to Netflix and you can watch as many number of movies as you would want. You can do that as well on Safe Enterprise. So this greatly optimizes your costs as well. And then once you are going through this, you of course need a lot of tool to transform and to collaborate within an environment. So that's where Safe Collaborate comes in, which comes bundled in with this particular platform. And it allows you that visual workspace for facilitating different safe events, whether these are your art or agile release train related events, or your access to community discussion forums, or facilitation of the remote trainings, or PI planning, or access to your team board, or access to your PI planning or program board. All you have access to all these tools, which you are managing somehow using different tools and spending your dollars learning. There's a learning curve as well. Maybe you're using Mural or Miro or what have you. And there's some costs associated with that, either in monetary terms or the learning curve, right? So this will vastly bring that down. And whenever the changes will happen to the framework or the courseware, this will get updated automatically. And then now the virtual classroom sits as well on top of this. So you don't have to even invest into creating your classroom workshops over the weekend for preparing for that Monday workshop that you're delivering. This will, on a click of a button, will get automatically created for you on Safe Collaborate. If you're an SPC, you will love this. Now, this is great. You told me as to how do you create your different tools, how do you get access to the learning platform, and how do you start using them, how do you collaborate? But then what about governance? And we definitely don't want you to be just using these tools and getting certified to nothing. We want you to be able to measure the progress that you as an enterprise, as a business unit within that enterprise is making towards achieving business agility. And that's where measure and grow tools come into play. So you can always continuously measure wherever you are in your stage of progressing towards achieving or transforming to business agility. And it also recommends you grows, which will provide you with insights that wherever you are in your journey, what are the grows, what are the actions that you can take on those grows so that you, of course, as the name suggests, you can grow your, that particular dimension towards business agility. Not only that, we offer you these quarterly health checks as well on top of this. So this allows you to understand wherever you are, know how to improve, and decide what to do next, as I suggested in the GROWS platform or the GROWS assessment as well. So now you're looking at a holistic view, a holistic solution, which is not only facilitating your learning, early learning, putting that into practice, access to the content, access to the courseware, access to the community forums, and also allowing you the ability to be able to measure and find the growth which you can use to assess your transformation to business agility. And while all this, you have access to a lot of analytics, which you can figure out where are you at in your learning initiatives within that larger enterprise. So when the customers using this, they transform, they definitely achieve business outcomes. Remember, I talked about top line and bottom line. It always boils down to that. And who doesn't want increased productivity? Who doesn't want increased predictability and employee engagement and motivation? And cutting down the cost to delivery and cutting down the product defects and reducing the cycle time and accelerating your time to market. I think everybody loves that. And these are just a sample, but you can find a larger set of such success stories on scaledagile.com. So please feel free to navigate through that across different industry segments, wherein the customers have claimed different successes in different dimensions of their digital transformation. But when you do not transform, and I would hate to say this because I don't like talking anything less than uplifting, but then that's also true, right? It's always not success because we're talking about 30% success and 70% failure. So let's look at the failure as well. I'm sure most of you would relate to one or more of these pictures. What happened to Videocon? What happened to HMT? Why is Apple Watches so successful? Why is Apple Watches the largest watch manufacturer right now in the world? What happened to Aditya Birla Payments Bank when that was the first payments bank which was set up even prior to Paytm in India? What happened to Nokia phones? And I was looking at this research from Dun and Bradstreet, and this was really, really eye-opener. It says that less than half of today's, by the way, they release a report every year which they talk about the top 500 companies, and they go into all the details of the health of those companies, the organization and enterprises in India. So they're talking about that top 500 companies in India, and they say that less than half of today's top 500 companies will stay in the group after 12 years. And you see that when the companies which are there in 2000, how many of them still remain? And this is, I guess, last year's report. And they had until 2010 data. They haven't released 2015 data until then. So, and I would assume that with the pace or a rapid pace at which the world is transforming right now, this curve might be even more steep downhill. So, I mean, this is a truth. This is which is happening right now. And we do not want any of us to be in the situation where our customers or our own enterprises figure out or do not figure out in the top 500 companies rather, right? So it's all about return. We all are talking about that return, but actually it's not just a phase. And this won't just be, a 2020 December thing or 2021 thing that, oh, it's a phase, it will go away, we will come back to a normal world. It actually is not. It's all about how you now think about how you operate, how you focus and transform your operating model. It's about developing that new muscle and enterprise-wide ability to absorb uncertainty and incorporate lessons into the operating model quickly, right? And it's not something that has been happening very recently. I think it's being talked about more right now because the world is changing at a much faster pace at this moment. It had been happening always. And Steve Denning, in this article, which says about what's new is the C-suite embracing it, and for good reasons. And he says that the organizations, the enterprises which did not embrace agility actually lost the stakeholder value and maybe the value that they deliver to the customers as well. So on the right hand side, you see Microsoft and Amazon and IBM and GE, which he gives this example. So if the leadership embraces agility and they look at it from the enterprise perspective or at the business unit perspective and at that level, the success is guaranteed to happen at a higher degree as compared to not looking at it from that level. Now, like everybody would have, I would have a call to action for all of us. And I thought that rather than me saying something as a call to action, why don't I get the inspiration and pull in the inspiration from Mr. Anand Mahindra? And he tweeted this a couple of months or maybe a few months ago in June. And I will slowly let you absorb this. I'll let this be on the screen for a moment. He talks about that the offices begin to slowly open. Most companies will be exploring what I call Sanjeevani solutions, a potion for emerging from a corona-induced coma. And it's a good time to share some of the thinking of his group, Mahindra Group. And what he says is that adopt a startup mindset, become lean organization. Nothing is sacred. All business models open for debate. So look at business model innovation, business model transformation. It's not about just team and technical products. You have to create those feedback loops, fail fast, learn loops that constantly test product and market assumptions, agile product management competency, and share ideas and data across the company at a warp speed. And that happens when you organize yourself in a way that it facilitates the flow of the value and flow of the value to the customer as well. And do a Marie Kondo style cleanup of the portfolio and bid goodbye to those initiatives that won't fall into your narrative of successful future. Portfolio operations. How do you have your lean portfolio operations? And raising sufficient capital for journey of evolution, it's not a short trip. Absolutely. So how do you prioritize which value streams do I need to fund? How do I bring about the change in the thinking of how I organize around value? How I transform my business model? What is my strategy? And that's where you start thinking at how do we operate? How do we build that enterprise-wide new muscle and look at transformation from an operating model perspective? Now, that being said, just to summarize, we are all in a race to make our customers and our enterprises successful. Successful over here means a better top line and a better bottom line, right? It's all about business outcomes. Whatever solution we offer, whatever ideas we have, if it does not improve the revenue growth, or it does not improve the profit and help achieve operational excellence, it's not the priority of the executive. So it's all about those business outcomes. And we do achieve business outcomes by having a successful digital transformation. It's a no-brainer, right? But then in order to have a higher degree of guarantee for a successful digital transformation, operating model plays a vital role. So you have to focus on the operating model and transform your operating model to business agility. Business agility helps you achieve the things that we just discussed. And the one solution that helps you achieve business agility is safe enterprise solution that we just looked at it as well. We drink our own champagne. I don't know if you know this, but in one of the talks earlier this year, Dean was talking about that we used safe to save safe, right? We drink our own champagne, and it's all about aligning to the theme of humanizing the business innovation, right? So when you do the things right, you're happy, and you see a bunch of happy faces over here. That's us as Scaled Agile. And I invite you, all of us, to think about what are the things that we could drive. how humanizing business innovations can be driven within your enterprises and your customers' enterprises. How can you organize yourself so that you are continuously looking at the business outcomes and not about adopting a solution or two, which might sub-optimize your system, having a systems view, having systems thinking, and how do you grow that enterprise-wide muscle that relax and give you the flexibility to respond rapidly to the rapidly changing business environments. Thank you so much.